How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The book How to Win Friends and Influence People is one of the greatest self-development books of the 20th century, and it has contributed to changing the lives of millions around the world. In this book, Dale Carnegie presents practical principles for building strong relationships, influencing others, and achieving personal and social success. The book is based on real examples and stories of successful people who applied these principles, making it easy to understand and apply. Below is a detailed summary of each chapter of the book, with illustrative examples to help you get the most out of it. Chapter 1. The Basics of Dealing with People. 1. Don't criticize, don't complain, don't condemn. Criticism can push people to defend themselves instead of changing their behavior. Carnegie says, any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, but it takes great character, understanding, and self-control to understand others instead of criticizing them. Practical example. Instead of scolding an employee for a mistake, try explaining to them in a positive way how they can improve. This will make them more receptive to receiving criticism. 2. Appreciate others genuinely. People crave appreciation, not flattery. Give them genuine praise when they deserve it. Practical example. When your colleague succeeds in completing a difficult task, instead of saying great job, say, you did a great job analyzing the data and your notes were very accurate. 3. Arouse a desire in the other person. Instead of trying to convince people of what you want, focus on what they want, then link their goals to your goals. Practical example. If you want your child to eat vegetables instead of forcing them, tell them, if you eat vegetables, you will become strong like superheroes. Chapter 2. Ways to make people like you. 1. Show genuine interest in others. If you want to be liked, show genuine interest in others. People care about themselves more than anything else. Practical example. When meeting a new person, ask them about their interests and listen to them attentively instead of talking about yourself all the time. 2. Always smile. Smiling reflects friendliness and makes others feel comfortable with you. Practical example. Even in phone calls, try to speak with a smile, because your tone of voice will reflect that and make the other party feel positive. 3. Remember people's names and call them by them. A person's name is the most important word to them, so use it when talking to them. Practical example. If you work in a large company and remember the name of a new colleague, they will feel your appreciation for them, which will strengthen your relationship with them. 4. Be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves. People like people who listen to them more than those who talk about themselves all the time. Practical example. If your friend is telling you a story, ask him for details and show your interest in what he says, instead of interrupting him to talk about yourself. 5. Talk about other people's interests. If you want to win someone over, talk about the things he cares about. Practical example. If you want to build a good relationship with a colleague who loves football, try talking to him about the last match of his favorite team. 6. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Everyone wants to feel important and appreciated, so make that a habit for you. Practical example. Tell the hotel receptionist, you are doing a great job here, and you are the reason why customers feel comfortable. Chapter 3. How to convince others to your point of view. 1. The only way to win an argument is to avoid it. Most arguments don't lead to a result, but rather increase the party's adherence to their opinions. Practical example. Instead of a heated argument about politics, try saying, I see that you have a strong point of view. Tell me why you think this is the best solution. 2. Respect the other person's opinion and never say you're wrong. When a person feels rejected or wrong, they will defend themselves instead of listening to you. Practical example. If you disagree with someone, say, that's an interesting point of view. I've never thought of it that way before. 3. If you're wrong, admit it quickly and honestly. Admitting a mistake makes you seem more honest and increases others' respect for you. Practical example. If you make a mistake at work, tell your manager, I made a mistake, I take responsibility for it, and I will work to correct it immediately. 4. Start in a friendly way. Verbal attacks make the other person resist you, while friendliness opens the door to understanding. Practical example. If you want someone to commit to a specific appointment, say, I know you have a busy schedule and I value your time very much. Can we schedule a time that works for you? Chapter 4. How to be an effective leader without resenting others. 1. Start with sincere praise and appreciation. When giving critical feedback, start by praising the person first. Practical example. Instead of telling an employee, your reports are inaccurate, say, you are doing a great job, but I think there are some details that could be improved. 2. Present your criticism indirectly. Instead of saying, this is a mistake, you can say, what if we try this method? Practical example. Instead of saying, your writing style is poor, say, your style is great, but it could be clearer with some details. 3. Make the other person feel that the mistake can be easily fixed. If you make the person feel that they can improve, they will be more willing to change. Practical example. If someone makes a mistake in giving a presentation, instead of discouraging them, say, you were great, and with a few small adjustments, your next presentation will be amazing. Conclusion. The secret to successfully dealing with people. The book teaches us that the best way to win friends and influence people is to genuinely care about them, treat them positively, and respect their opinions and feelings. If you apply these principles in your daily life, you will be a likable, influential person and able to achieve success in your social and professional relationships. What do you think of these ideas? Have you had experience with any of them? Stories from the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie. The book is full of real-life stories that illustrate its principles in a practical way. Here are a collection of important stories from the book, with their details and lessons learned from them. 1. The story of Abraham Lincoln. Avoid harsh criticism. The story. In his youth, Abraham Lincoln was known for his scathing style of criticizing others. Once he wrote a satirical letter that he published in newspapers criticizing a local politician named James Shields. The letter angered Shields, who challenged Lincoln to a sword duel. Dueling was legal at the time, but it was very dangerous as it could lead to the death of one of the parties. At the last moment, some friends intervened and managed to stop the duel. But this experience taught Lincoln an important lesson in dealing with others, and he later became more cautious about criticizing people publicly. When he became president of the United States, he faced a lot of criticism, but he rarely responded with attacks. Instead, he used empathy and understanding, even with his political enemies, which made him one of the most respected presidents in American history. Lesson. Avoid harsh criticism, as it can cause more harm than good. Instead, try to understand the other person and find a way to build a positive relationship with him. 2. Theodore Roosevelt. Story, The Power of Remembering Names. Story, when U.S. President. Theodore Roosevelt was famous for his ability to remember people's names, even if he had only met them once. He knew that remembering names made a person feel important, and this helped him greatly in building his political and social relationships. One day, Roosevelt visited a large hotel, and before leaving, he said to the receptionist, "Thank you, John, for your wonderful service." The receptionist was surprised and said, "Mr. President, how did you know my name?" Roosevelt smiled and replied, "I like to remember the names of the people I meet because everyone deserves to feel important." This habit made him popular among people, even his political opponents. Lesson. A person's name is the most important word to him, so make sure to remember it and use it when talking to him, as this will help you gain his affection quickly. 3. Charles Schwab's story, The Power of Appreciation and Encouragement. Story. Charles Schwab was one of the most successful businessmen in the United States and a director of the Carnegie Steel Company. He was known for his ability to motivate employees through honest appreciation rather than criticism. One day, Schwab visited a factory belonging to his company and noticed that production was lower than expected. Instead of yelling at the workers or criticizing them, he decided to use a positive approach. He approached one of the workers and wrote on a large board in the factory, 6. The workers did not understand what it meant, but he smiled and said to them, This is the number of pieces the team completed today. The next day, the workers came and found that the number had changed to 7, as they wanted to improve their performance. The workers began to compete with each other to increase the number daily until production increased significantly. All this happened without any reprimand or threat, but only through appreciation and positive motivation. Lesson. Instead of criticizing others, try to motivate them and show your appreciation for them, and you will find that they perform much better. For the story of the hotel employee who became a manager because of his smile. The story. There was a young man working in a small hotel, but he was not just an ordinary employee. He always smiled at every guest who entered the hotel and greeted them warmly as if they were his close friends. One day, a wealthy businessman came to stay at the hotel. This man noticed that the employee was different from the rest of the workers because of his constant smile and positive spirit. A few days later, the businessman approached the employee and said to him, "You are a wonderful person. You have amazing positive energy. Would you like to work with me in my company?" Years later, this simple employee became a manager in one of the businessman's largest companies, all thanks to his smile and the way he dealt with people. Lesson. A simple smile may be your greatest weapon in life. When you smile, you make people feel comfortable, and it opens up opportunities for you that you never imagined. 5. Benjamin Franklin's story, How to Make People Love You. Even if they hate you. The story. Benjamin Franklin, one of the founders of the United States, wanted to gain the respect of a person who was strongly hostile to him. Instead of arguing with him, he decided to use a clever way to win his favor. Franklin asked this person to lend him a rare book, which was a strange request because he was his enemy. But the man agreed and gave him the book. Days later, Franklin returned it to him with a nice thank you note. After that, this person began to treat Franklin differently, and they became close friends. Why? Because people love those who do them a favor. The moral. If you want to make someone love you, ask them for a small favor. They will feel that they have done you something, and this will make them look at you in a positive way. Conclusion. The power of dealing smartly with people. The stories mentioned by Dale Carnegie in his book are not just tales, but practical lessons that you can apply in your daily life. If you want to be a likable and influential person, start by avoid hurtful criticism, remember people's names, use appreciation and encouragement instead of scolding, smile and be positive, use emotional intelligence in dealing with people. These simple principles can completely change your life and make others naturally drawn to you. What do you think of these stories? Do you have a similar experience in your life?